It's a very pretty area here. But I guess, yeah, I mean, you think about it, you don't know who could be or what could be lurking in the woods. Now, there are main trails like this, but then there are much smaller trails like that just go up into the woods there. So Thursday, February 22nd, 2024, 22-year-old Laken Riley went for a run. She lived here in Athens, Georgia. She was a nursing student at Augusta University. The nursing program is basically right near the University of Georgia where she originally was going. So she's very familiar with this area, is what I'm trying to say. Now, of course, I don't claim to know everything at all about this case, but I wanted to come here and show people what it looks like. Because even when the court cases were going on, they didn't really show much. They didn't. You saw some pictures and things like that, but it's hard to kind of get a grasp on these crime scenes if you don't see them in a different way other than maybe just some photos. So that's really what I wanted to show. Now, I don't really get involved too much in politics on YouTube, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it either. José Ibarra was here illegally from Venezuela. He came in 2022. He was living in an apartment not far from here, and came out to these woods. This is University of Georgia. I mean, the college is here. Everybody is here. This is where all the kids come to run. This is where all the fields are, all the pickleballers. You can hear everybody out there. There's people out over there playing soccer. I wonder how new these are. They look very new, these emergency things. I would guess that they probably are. It's a shame how it takes something tragic for improvement at times, but it's like at an intersection when there's enough accidents, eventually they put a traffic light type of situation. They can tell by her cell phone pinging and some other tracking devices that she had that she ran up this trail here and then turned and then came up this way and went down there. And it's very, very shortly after that is when she ran into José Ibarra. In fact, it's my understanding that she was only running for like 6 minutes. It was very, very quick. So he was likely just lying in wait. And the really unfortunate thing is one of her roommates was supposed to go running with her that day. And because of scheduling, she couldn't make it. So she and her, some of her roommates, she went running 6 days a week. So very, very used to this area. Very familiar with these trails. You know, I pictured it a little busier, but it is kind of getting late in the day. So maybe, you know, this was just after 9 o'clock in the morning. So maybe there's a lot more people out there. In fact, one witness that said that he was running, and he said, yeah, he noticed Jose because he wasn't dressed like somebody who would be running or hiking or anything like that. He was just dressed odd for the environment, for the situation. Yeah, see, there's all these different trails that you can take. I believe that she ran up here, took this left, and now we're getting very close to where he attacked her. Her cell phone was not where they found her body because he had taken the phone and ditched it elsewhere. But pretty much right here, somewhere he was either hiding or came out of the woods. Maybe he was walking on the trail, but he attacked her, armed with a palm-sized rock. I would bet you money that this was planted in her name. Maybe by the family or friends. And this is where they found her. Wow. Apparently it's about 64 feet that she was dragged. So she was attacked off of the trail there, and then he dragged her over here. I think they found her right in here because this is a natural divot. And I remember the police saying that when they were trying to do CPR on her, they had to move her because she was in a ditch. And this is likely the ditch right here. So, I mean, it's a pretty good hiding spot. Sorry to say. What an absolute animal. This lady walking her dog, and I don't want to frighten her coming out of the woods, especially right here. So this is what is known as the Boardwalk Trail, and I believe that this is the trail that the police took, the sergeant took. So first police officer on the scene was Sergeant Kenneth Maxwell. He met with her friends, and they showed him whatever they had as far as where her phone was. They could locate her. You know, they were all friends, so they all knew, they all followed each other, tracked each other. And I believe that this is the bridge that Sergeant Maxwell went across. And then the other officer was instructed to go on the other side of this lake. And they were basically going to meet somewhere in the middle. So describing her body, the position, she was slightly on her side. She had leaves and vegetation somewhat covering her. Obviously, he made an attempt to keep her hidden in a sense. I believe that based on his cell phone tracking, he was there for another 5 minutes or something like that, and then he went back. He went back to his apartment. But she had massive injuries to her head. In fact, by the time the police got there, I mean, they tried everything they could, but she had probably been dead for hours at that point. When watching the court cases and listening to the audio of the body cam footage, the sheriff was walking around the woods. I mean, he didn't know the woods it's everywhere. There's so much of it. So it took him, I think, 20 minutes or something, he said, from the time he left her friends who gave him the information, the pings of her phone, and it was about 20 minutes. It took him to find, 21 minutes or something. It took him to find her, and the horrors. It is so horrific listening to him when he finds her, and he's trying to wake her up, and it's really very. I think moving is not even the right word. It's really unfortunate. They really tried everything they could.
Oh, shit. To the university, I found her. Ma'am. Oh. I need EMS immediately to the location where the phone pings. Starting CPR now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
I think it was probably somewhere in here where the sheriff maybe would have gone up this way. You know, because he came up here. I believe he came up this way. Possibly could have gone in there and then just went in the woods. I mean, he was just searching around. You can hear on his body cam footage, it's just rustling leaves for 20 minutes, basically. And then once he finds her, you can also hear he's blowing a whistle, and he's trying to communicate to the other officers that are on their way coming in where he is, you know, trying to make it easier for them to find him. You know, you might know where the ping is, but if you're trying to race up a trail or something, I mean, it's, you know, sounds bounce off of trees, hillsides, rocks. It's probably very confusing. And you know, who knows what Ibarra was doing out here. He could have been just walking these trails, waiting to attack somebody. That's likely what he was doing. He maybe was hiding, waiting in that specific location. Hard to say. I don't know that he ever admitted any information. So this all happened around 9, just after 9 in the morning. And I had read that earlier than that, around 6 o'clock in the morning, there was a woman who was showering in her apartment and had this weird situation about somebody was trying to get inside her apartment. She looked in the window, then she looked out. She got out of the shower and looked out, sees the door handle moving, and she was like, what the heck? You know, he's looking in the window, couldn't get in. She calls the police. They get there and he's gone. And then this happened a couple hours later. So he was on the prowl. I mean, he's a predator. Really, you know, a piece of garbage is really what it is. I mean, we're all thinking it, let's be honest. And I apologize for the shaky footage. I usually have a pretty good stabilizer or gimbal, but it's... I didn't want to bring it because I didn't want to bring so much attention to myself on these trails. I mean, this is a situation that's still very fresh in people's minds. I guarantee you there isn't one person that jogs or walks or runs through here without thinking about her.
Turn right.
All right, and real quick, I at least wanted to show you where Ibarra lived and how close he lived to the university's property. These apartments are called the Argo. Let me pull in here. Back here is the dumpster where he discarded his jacket, which had, I believe it had Laken's DNA on it. All he has to do is just walk this trail right here, and it brings you right out to the university's property. That's how close he lived to these trails.
This hoodie jacket. And when he looks in and sees it, it's in a recycling bin, and he noticed it had long, dark hair on it, wrapped around one of the buttons, and he could see blood. They collect the jacket found in the dumpster, and they send it immediately to the GBI crime lab indicator for testing. They notice, they look around and see that one of the residents in this apartment, and B32, had what's called a Eufy camera, which is like a Ring camera, but works a little different. At 9:44 in the morning, about 15 minutes after Laken Riley's heart stopped, this is what they see.
Crazy when you don't know it, but you're living amongst a killer or a potential killer.
The officers are seen asking him about scratches and bruises on his arms and face.
What injuries did you observe?
I noticed on his right arm, his bicep, there was a scratch, which I identified as a potential defensive wound. On his left arm, he had a forearm scratch that was very similar, which in my mind looked like fingernail scratches to me.
For many in this country, Ibarra has become a case in point in the argument over immigration. He's from Venezuela and illegally entered the country 2 years ago. He's pleading not guilty to the murder of 22-year-old Laken Riley, who was killed in Athens, Georgia, while she was out jogging in February. Police say she fought for her life. Her mother broke down in court when prosecutors shared the video of Riley trying to call 911 for help. Investigators testified that they found Ibarra's fingerprints on Riley's cell phone.
Hello, this is Clark 911. Can anyone hear me?
She placed that call at 9:11 a.m. Authorities say her heart stopped beating 17 minutes later.
So it's the next day. As you know, I was running out of light, so I had to do this the next day. I'm about an hour and a half away in Woodstock, Georgia, at the Enon Cemetery. This is where Laken Riley is buried. You know, in the wake of Laken's death, the Georgia legal system swiftly turned its focus towards José Ibarra, who was charged with felony murder and kidnapping. And there was a mountain of evidence against José. DNA under Laken's fingernails, DNA on the jacket that he discarded into that dumpster, eyewitness testimony, so much video evidence. And this court case was very, very closely followed. The trial lasted 4 days, and he was found guilty of malice murder, felony murder, kidnapping with bodily injury, and aggravated assault with intent to rape. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And here's an interesting thing. Ibarra was arrested in 2023 in New York City for injuring a child, but he was released. There was no deportation, there was no detention, and then he went on to murder Laken Riley. And because of this situation, Laken's family worked to create Laken's Law, which was enacted in January 29th, 2025, so not long ago, and that helps to prevent similar cases like Laken's from happening. For instance, if someone is in the U.S. illegally and gets arrested for a serious crime, or assault, or murder, of course, they must be detained and stay detained. They cannot be released while waiting their court date. This new law represents stronger safeguards and accountability. And the hope is that Laken's unfortunate death will result in countless people being protected or saved in the future. And I have no doubt that it will. So rest in peace to Laken Riley. I'm getting out of here. See you in the next video.